Hello all. I'll give you a quick sorry I'll give you a quick introduction. Okay, so like whatever we discussed so far, not from the basics, but the table creation. So what is the need of a database table in SAP or in any system? So you have a front end application where you will enter some data, right? When you submit this application or request, a validation will occur, right, by using a program logic. Validations, data insertion, and read. Read means selecting the existing data. Insert means creating new data, right? So whenever you enter something in the screen, a corresponding program will validate the data and insert the data into where? Database tables. It is not necessary to have only one table for application, right? So in some cases, you'll be inserting data into multiple tables, not only a single table, right? So when you are submitting the employee data, so you're going to insert data into employee master data table, employee attendance table, employee salary table also sometimes, right? At a time, it's going to insert into multiple tables, or maybe in some cases only single table. Okay. Okay. So the data will be inserted into database tables permanently. When you create any request, when you create any order, or when you, for example, I'll give you a real world example. So most of you might have ordered in Amazon or Flipkart, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So you're going to select your product in the front end application, that is screen, right? That might be a web browser or mobile application. That is a GUI screen where you're able to select the product and complete the payment. Then what will happen when you click on complete? A program, a corresponding program will execute to validate the product, right? Availability of the product, right? It will validate the availability of the product and validation of the product and whether your pin code is serviceable or not, right? It will do all the validations, right? That's not going to execute on the screen level, right? There is a separate program for each functionality that will execute, right, to validate or to create the data. So whenever you submit the order, what will happen? It's going to create a order in backend database tables. It will insert the data into backend database tables. Okay, and it will create a sales order and it will insert the data into sales order related tables and it will generate a delivery, right? Then it will create a record into delivery related tables automatically, right? So when you open your order to check your status of the order, what will happen? A program will read data from the tables, right, and it will display in your screen, right, when you want to check the status of the order, right? So we need a front end screen, an application program, and back end database tables to execute or to maintain any application. This is not only specific to SAP. For any software application, there will be a front end screen and application programs and back end tables. This is what the three-tier architecture, right? We have seen, right? If you go into architecture level, we have a separate GUI server and we have a separate application layer and we have a separate database layer. Is everyone clear why we need a database table? Why we need to create database tables? Is everyone clear? Why we need to create a program and why we need to create a database tables? Program is for executing application logic, functionality, right? Tables are to store the data, right? So we insert the records through a program into database tables and we read the tables data using a program and display it for the user. Okay. So in the previous session, we have created a database table uh, by using built-in data types, right? Let's create one more table today, but using a different concept called data elements and domains. Data elements and domains. Login, press enter. So what is the transaction code to create a table? What is the
SC11.
transaction code? SC11,
11.
data dictionary. Provide the table name. I think this one we created in a different server, 2022 server, but today I'm using 23 S4HANA 2023 version. Okay, that's why it is not available. Let's create this table. What are the steps to create a table?
Need to give a description.
Provide the description. And what about the delivery class? What type of table it is? It is the application table or configuration table? It's application table, master data, delivery maintenance allowed, and go
Hello.
to fields. Provide the field names. It is a primary key in employee master data. Now, I'm not going to use built-in types because I don't have a reusability and I don't have like better consistency, right? When I am going to use same field in a different table, I might use different length and different data type, right? But I want to standardize so that every developer can use same properties, right? Always that all the developers should use character and length 10 with some specific description, right? We should standardize that properties for this field, employee id field. For that, what we can use the concept of domains and data elements. Domains and data elements. Domain nothing but technical attribute. Domain nothing but technical attribute. What do you mean by technical attributes of the field? Technical attributes nothing but data type and length. Data type and length. These are the technical attributes. Okay. Let me prepare some notes. data type and length. So what are the technical attributes of the field? Data type and length. Here we have another option called case sensitive. What is the default behavior of data? What is the default behavior? Last time when we created the data in the table, even we entered in the lower case, right? It's automatically convert into uppercase and storing the data in uppercase only in the table level, right? Even if I enter the employee name in lower case, it is automatically storing the data in uppercase in the table. That is the default behavior, right? That is the SAP table default behavior. It will automatically store the data in backend database table in uppercase, even though you enter in lower case. But if you want to specifically maintain in lower case, what we need to do? So we need to use this case sensitive option in domain. This case sensitive option in domain to maintain data in lower case or uppercase or camel case, mixed case, right? If I provide in lower case, it should save in lower case only. If I enter data in uppercase, it should store in uppercase only. If I enter data in camel case, like combination of uppercase and lower case, it should store as it is, right? In that case, we should use this case sensitive option in the domain level. If you are not using domain, when you are creating the database tables, if you are not using domains for the fields, you cannot have this property. The data will be automatically stored in uppercase. You cannot control it. But if you want to control that behavior, you need to use a domain. By using domain, you can define the technical characteristics like data type and length and case sensitive option. There is also other properties like value tables. So to define the possible values, it is a domain level validation. It is a domain level validation. So by using this value table, we can define what are the possible values for this field. For example, city. What are the possible values available for the city, right? Only user can select those possible values so that he can enter only valid data, right? We can control this behavior also. Also, we can fix some values for the field. We can fix some values for the fields. For example, you are creating a field called gender in employee master data. You are creating a field called gender. Can we allow any value for the gender? Can we allow any value for the gender? When user trying to enter the data, should we allow any value? No, right? Only specific values. Only specific values like male or female or other, right? Only these three categories we should allow. How can we control this? So we can provide right? So you can provide those fixed values so that user can enter only one of the value from those fixed values. We have a value ranges also in the domain level so that user can enter only user can enter within that given range. For example, employee ID should be accepted between 100 to 500 so that user can enter value only between 100 to 500. Other values cannot be accepted, right? You can also provide multiple ranges. I'll show you when we are creating the domain. So once again I'll explain. Domain is a technical attribute of the table field, right? So it defines data type and length. As of now we provided using built-in data types, right? Manually we are selecting the data type and length. But if you use domain, so we configure the data type and length inside the domain. So whenever you use that domain for the field, the same data type and length will be applied. And what is the other option we have in domain level? Case sensitive option. So if you want to allow only save the data in any specific case, uppercase, lowercase, or mixed case, you need to select this case sensitive option, so that user can enter the data in any case, uppercase or lowercase. What is the default behavior? If you don't use this case sensitive option and domain, what is the default behavior? All the character data will be automatically converted into uppercase in the table level. Clear? And we have other options like value tables, fixed values, and value ranges, so that you can control the user to enter the data, so that user cannot enter any data, any random values. Okay. So when we go for fixed values, for defined data, for example, weeks, months, right? These are all defined data, right? We can predict, right? But value, price, these are unknown, right? There is no limit for that. So we cannot use fixed values for that, right? Example for fixed values are week, month, gender. Okay. Is everyone clear? Data element. We have another element called data element in the data dictionary. So what is data element? It defines the semantic attributes. Attributes are information. You can call it any. It defines the semantic attributes of the table field. It defines the semantic attributes of the table field. So what do you mean by semantic attribute? Semantic attributes are nothing but field description. Manually we are providing the field description, right? When we are creating the table. So data element defines semantic attributes of the table field. That means field description, and field label. Field label nothing but field heading, right? Report heading. So you can configure domain or data element within the domain or elementary type within the data element. Okay. So domain defines the technical attributes, that means data type and length, and data element defines the semantic attributes, that means description of the field, field labels, right? All these things. Okay. So let's create a domain and data element and use it in the table. There are two approaches. We can use top to bottom and bottom up approach. Okay. We have two different approach in creating domains and data elements, right? So first we can create the domain and then we create the data element. That is one approach. Or first we create the data element and then go for the domain. That is second approach. Okay. First we'll see first approach. That means first create the domain and then create the data element. So what is the transaction code to create any data dictionary objects? What is the transaction code to create any data dictionary objects? SC11 only, right? SC11 is the transaction code. But instead of table, what we need to select here? Domain. First we create the domain, that means technical attribute of the field. Let's provide some name, Z, T. I'm using some naming convention. All the objects should start with Z or Y, right? That is mandatory, right? Any custom object should start with Z or Y. I'll follow some naming standards, okay? Z test emp id. This is the domain name. I'm creating a domain. Create. Provide the description of the domain. This is not field description. Please remember. So whatever the description I am providing, this is not going to be reflected for the table field, right? Now data type. What is the data type for employee ID? Char.
Character.
What is the length? For example, 10. Do we need decimal
10.
places? No. Leave it blank. No decimal places. Here we can see case sensitive option. Case sensitive option. What is the use of this case sensitive option? It will allow data as it is in a lower case or uppercase in a mixed case. Okay. So for now I am not selecting because I don't want to save data in lower case for employee ID. I want to maintain it uppercase by default. I've explained about value ranges, right? Value ranges, fixed values. These are intervals means value ranges. You can provide the range. What is the acceptable range for this employee ID? Or you can configure a value table. Here you can configure a table so that the values can be selected from this table. So value table is for domain level validation. We'll see that in the next session, how to configure the value tables. For now here, fixed values, if you provide fixed values, user can select only from those fixed values. Okay. I'll explain in a different class about these value ranges, fixed values and intervals. For now, leave it. Save the domain. For now, I'm saving it in the local package. Did I activate it? No, it is not active. Right? I need to activate the domain so that then only I can use it. So what are the details we provided in the domain? Description of the domain, data type and length. Okay. So my domain is ready. What is the next object required? For semantic attributes of the field, what is the object that we need to create for semantic attributes? Tell me what type, what is that object? What type of object we need to create? Data element, right? For semantic attribute, we need to create the data element. Create the data element. I can use same name as domain for data element because it's a different object, right? Select the data element option here. Provide the description. So whatever the description you provide here, right, that will be reflected in the table field. Okay. So whatever the description you are providing in the data element level, that will reflect in the table field. Now here what is the option you can see? Domain, right? Enter the domain which you have created. Enter the domain which you have already created. I'm using the same name for domain, right? Copy and paste the domain name. That's it. Then field label, maintain the field label, short description, medium description and long description. Field label nothing but report heading, right? When we, like if you take any Excel file as example, in the heading we maintain the description of the field, right? For example, employee ID, and we maintain the employee IDs, right? Like that, this is the field heading. Employee ID. I'll maintain same for long, medium and heading. Okay. Press enter. It will automatically assign the length. Then activate the data element. Save it in the local object. Activate the data element. Data element is also ready. Now take this data element and go to your table. Enter the data element here. Press enter. Okay. So your data element is assigned to the table field, right? So you can use the same data element in any table. Simply select the data element and paste here in any table wherever you have employee ID field. Okay. Even you have 100 fields which contains employee ID field, right? Don't create a separate data element on domain for that. Just use the existing data elements and domains. Okay. Just use this data elements and domains in all those 100 fields, right? For example, due to some requirement change, due to some functionality changes, there is a need of change in length of the field. There is a need in change of the length of the field because my organization want to extend the length of the employee ID field from 10 to 12. They want to make it 12, right? Now, do we need to go to all 100 tables and change the length if we are using data elements and domains? Do we need to open all the 100 tables and change the length manually?
No.
No need. Just go to the domain. Just go to the domain, whatever you created for the employee ID, just change there and activate it. It will automatically applicable to the all tables, whatever using the same domain, right? Change the domain, change the length and activate the domain. It will automatically apply for all the tables. Okay, all those 100 tables. You don't need to go to each and individual table and check. Okay, so you have better reusability and consistency and flexibility, right? Maintainability. You can easily maintain the changes, right? You don't need to go to all the objects and check. Now we are done with the employee ID field. Now employee name, EMP name. We have used a top-down approach, right? First we created the domain and then we created the data element and then we have used data element here in the table field. Now let's see bottom-up approach. First we create the data element and then create the domain, right? Z test e name. Is this domain or is this data element already available? We don't know, right? Press enter. What it is saying? Z test ename is not active. That means this data element is not available. It is not yet created, right? It is not active. That means the length and description is not assigned. Now we need to create this. We need to create this. How to create this? Double click on this. Double click on this. Yes, create data element. Now we are creating the data element. Click yes, create the data element. Employee name. Provide the field label. When you are working on the reports, you can see how these field labels will be helpful. Now I provided the description of the field and field label. I provided all the semantic attributes. Next, what is the next thing we need to provide? Domain, right? That means technical attribute. Do we have this domain already created? Just check. Press enter. No active domain available. Or you can also check like this. If there is any domain available for the employee name, just star emp name. Use these keywords and press F4 just to check any existing domains, right? Someone might have already created, right, for employee name. I can see two domains here for employee name. ZDOEMP name, ZEMP name. Someone has already created two domains for employee name, right? But for now, I am creating my own domain. Enter the domain name, press enter. It's saying it's not active. Double click on the domain to create it. Save the data element, create the domain, provide the description of the domain, employee name, and data type of the domain. Sorry, data type of the field. So I am selecting the case sensitive option so that the values will be saved as it is, right? The name will be saved as it is. Later we'll change it and check how it will change the data. I've activated the domain. Creation is not important. You should also activate it. Okay. Make sure the domain and data elements are active. Then only you can use it in the table. Go back. Now we are in data element level. Now length is assigned. Now activate the data element. Then go back to the table. Your domain, your data element is assigned. So which approach is easy? First approach or second approach? Which approach is easy to create the data elements and domains?
Second.
Second one is easy, right? But before creating any data elements and domains, first check, is there any existing object already created by someone available in the system or not? Okay, then only create the new one if that is not available. How can you check that? For example, what is the next field? Employee ID, employee name. What is the next field?
Email.
Yeah, email or yeah. Let me take city. Okay. Before creating it, first check, is there any data element available for city? How can you check? See, always remember, you should not only check for custom objects. There are a lot of standard objects also available. Let me show you. Go to, let's open any table. KNA1, customer master table. It's a standard table. Please remember, standard SAP table. What is this? City, right? What is the field name they are taking? ORT01. ORT01 nothing but city. I've told you, right? Few names are maintained in German keywords, right? ORT01 nothing but city. You can see this description, field description. What is the data element for city? ORT01 underscore GP. Because standard ones also already available. You don't need to create custom one every time, right? Before going to create any custom objects, first check, is there any standard object available for this requirement or not? If standard is not available or standard is not suitable for your requirement, then only go for custom developments. Okay, then only go for custom developments. We have a standard domain already available for city. Use it. You don't need to create it. Enter the domain, use it. Okay. But for now, just practice creating custom objects, right? What is the next one? Email. Check. Is there any? You can check here like this using this keyword star, email, star. So in any data element name, there should be a keyword called email. F4. You can see there are a lot of objects. There are a lot of data elements with this keyword email. Email is there, right? So wherever it is matching, it will show. Find all the data elements and select your suitable data element for your requirement. Okay, you can check the length and everything here. Or if you think the standard is not suitable, create your own data element. Z test email. Enter. Standard is not available, not active. Double click on this. I'm creating the data element first. I'll use the same for all. Go to the data type and create the domain. I'm taking same name for data element and domain. We can take it, okay? Because both are different objects, right? So I'm taking same name for both data elements and domain. Creating the domain now. What is the length? Sorry, what is the data type? Character. Length I'm taking around 50 for email ID. I don't want case sensitive option for email ID. Save it. Activate the domain. Go back. Activate the data element. Yeah, sorry. So activate the data element of email ID. Our data element is active. Now go back to the table. So email domain is also automatically assigned, right? So first create the domain and then create the data element and then assign here in the table, or first create the domain, sorry, first create the data element and then create the domain, right, from the table itself. All right. If you want to follow the first approach, Open in S11, first select the domain and enter the domain name, create it and activate it, and then go to data type and enter the data element name, select the data element option and activate it and provide that name here in the table, right? Now what is the next field required? Phone. Test phone. Looks like someone have already created this domain, sorry, data element. Someone already created this data element. That's why it is automatically assigned. But they have taken character. I'll take a different name. Phone 1. Enter. This is not available. Double click to create. Phone number. Provide the field label. And then provide the domain name. Phone number. Sorry. What is a suitable data type for phone number?
Namaste.
Number 10. Activate it. Activate the domain. I'll show you something here. Or maybe not for this. I'll take different example. So activate the domain. My domain is activated for phone number and activate the data element as well. Is this already active? Yeah, this is also active. Okay. So my phone number, data element and domain is also ready. Now all my fields are completed. Let's assume these are the required fields. Now save the table. What is the next step? What are the important properties to be defined? What are the important parameters? Technical settings, right? Go to technical settings, maintain the data class. What type of data class we need to select? 0 or 1? Master data table, right? 0, APPL 0. Size category, approximate number of records, which we can store in this table. Again, it will extend the length. If the length is exceed, like if the maximum number of records are already created, it will automatically extend one more size category. Save the technical settings, go back and activate the table. Your table is active. Now you can maintain some data. Utilities table contains create entries. You are not authorized to change the table. It's allowed only. Looks like there is some access issue in this server because I'm using a new server today, 2023 server. So that's why it is not allowing to create new entries. Otherwise, it should accept or it should allow creating new entries. Okay. So our table is ready. If you check the records, 0 records are available because we did not create any records yet. Okay. Now, is everyone clear about data elements and domains concept? Is everyone clear on data elements and domains? What is a data element and what is a domain? So domain is the technical attribute of the table field. That means data type and length.
Length.
Data element is the semantic attribute. That means short description of the field and field labels. Right? Now let's assume we are creating a different table. Z test MP salary. Create a table, employee salary table. Now what is the data class? A, delivery and maintenance allowed. Fields. What are the fields required in employee salary table? Employee ID is required, right? Select employee ID or
Yeah.
enter employee ID. It's a key field. It should be a key field. And what would be the data element? Do we need to create a new data element? Do we need to create a new data element and domain again? No,
No.
right? We have already created. We have already created data element and domain for employee ID. We don't need to create again. Just reuse it. Use it here. Use the data element here. You don't need to create again, right? It's only one time job, right? Creating data elements and domains for any specific field is a one time job. You're not going to create again and again for employee ID. Okay? You're going to use same domain and data elements in different tables, right? So that the length and description is automatically applied. You don't need to worry about what is the length, what is the data type, and what is the description. If you know what is the data element for employee ID, just enter here. Okay? Why I am using sal month? Why I am not using month? Can we use month name? Can we use this?
No.
Because it's a reserved keyword. It's a reserved keyword. We cannot use sal month or sal date. I'll take. It should be also a primary key, right? Because we should maintain multiple records for each employee to insert every record in a every month salary, right? For each year, it should contain 12 records, right? For each employee. That's why we should take salary data also a primary key so that it will allow multiple records for each employee with different dates, with different salary dates. Z test salary date. This is not available. Create the data element first. Salary date. Maintain the field label. I'll use same for all. Now go to data type. Provide the domain. Let's assume there is no standard domain available or no suitable custom domain is also available. That's why I'm creating a new domain. Double click to create. What is the data type for this? That's right, DATS. This one in format YYYYYMMDD. That is the SAP's internal date format. The output length is 10 because the output contains separator, date separator. Activate the domain. Go back. Activate the data element. Go back to the table. Your data element is ready for salary date. Now salary. It should not be a primary key. Let's assume there is no suitable standard data element available. Say amount field, right? Double click to create the data element. Enter the domain name. Create the domain. What is the data type for salary? What is the data type for salary?
Num decimal.
Nums, is it a value? Nums is not a value, right? It's kind
Packed
of
decimal.
packet decimal we can take. That means this one, decimal. But if you use decimals, right? If you use packet decimals, right? We need to maintain the reference, right? For example, if I say 100, what is the value of 100? What is the value of 100 rupees? What is the value of $100? What is the value of 100 pounds? What is the value of 100 euros? All are same or different?
Different.
Value is 100
Different.
only. See, value is 100, but the reference unit is different, right?
Different. Yeah.
In one place, it is $100, in other place, 100 rupees, 100 euros, or 100 pounds, right? Now, the depends on the unit, the value is changing, right? So that's why when you are using decimals, right? When you are using this currency and quantity values, we should always maintain the reference. We should always maintain the reference key. We should not just maintain 100. You should maintain, is it $100, 100 rupees, or 100 euros? You should maintain that. Okay. Or when you are taking measurements also, weight or distance or anything, right? Quantity. If you are talking about quantity also, you should maintain the reference. If I just say 10, what do you mean by 10? Is it 10 liters, 10 kgs, 10 tons, right? We need to specify the unit, right? Unit of the quantity, or 10 numbers, we should define that. So that's why whenever you are defining currency related fields and quantity related fields in tables, we need to define the reference. You need to define the reference fields for that. So that's why we'll discuss that later. Okay. In the next session, I'll explain those currency and quantity fields. For now, I'll take integer. Okay. I'll just take this as integer data type, so that you don't need to maintain the currency and quantity fields for now, until we discuss that in detail. Activate the domain, but for salary, packet decimal is the suitable data type. Activate the data element, go back. Your salary field is also ready. Now, we need to maintain the technical settings. APPL1, because it's a transactional data, I'll just take 0 as my size category, save the technical settings, and activate the table. So your employee salary table is also ready, right? So that when you have existing data elements and domains, so you don't need to worry about the length and description. Just use the existing data elements and domains when you are using same field in a different table, right? Let's say I want to change something in the data element or domain. I want to change the data type or length. Before that, what you need to do? I need to check what are all the objects that is being used by this data element and domain. How can you check? Open the data element, double click to open. Here you can see where is the list option, where is the list. It will show wherever this data element is being referred, right? Where is the list? Keep the cursor here and press where is the list. And I want to check the tables. What are all the tables that is using the same data element? Click on continue. How many tables are using the same data element? Two tables are using employee, z-test employee, z-test employee salary. Both tables are using same data element, right? Yes or no? You need to, before going to do any changes, first check, right? What are all the objects that is using this data element? Then only apply the changes, right? By checking the dependency. Is everyone clear? Let's check city. Double click on the city data element. It's a standard data element. Check the where is the list. Tables. Select the tables. How many? There are 146 objects that are using the same data element, city. right? So if you do any changes to the data element ORT01 underscore GP, all those 146 objects will be impacted, right? All those 146 objects will impact, right? So before doing the changes, check the dependency always, okay? If you do any change here, it's going to impact all those 146 objects, okay? Clear? Is everyone clear about data elements and domains? So next time when you create a table, use data element and domains concept. Okay, that is mandatory. I'll share the notes and interview questions in the channel or in the group. Okay. The next session will discuss in detail about creating tables and different options in data elements and domains. And we have a very important concepts called foreign key and currency and quantity fields. In the next session, we'll discuss in detail about those. Once we completed these table creations, right, then again we'll go back to the programming, how to read data from tables into program, right, how to display the output. We'll work on some basic programs so that you can understand how we can access table data in the programs. Okay, but before that, please practice creating tables. You can take any example like student table or any company table, department table, right? Any example you can take. But try to use data elements and domains concepts.